If you have been learning Punjabi for months or maybe more than a year and still can't hold a real conversation, actually, it is not your fault, but it is your problem. What's up, everybody? My name is Amrinder Singh, and I teach real conversation in Punjabi. I tell the difference between formal Punjabi versus spoken Punjabi. So, today we will talk about why you are still not fluent in Punjabi. What kind of things holding you back? Where is the problem? And how to solve it? How to take right actions so you can be fluent in a couple of months or in a year. So you might see these problems when you talk to people. Do Punjabi people sound too fast for you? Maybe, And can you understand teachers, but not the real Punjabi people? When somebody's talking in the street, maybe talking on a TV show, something like that. Do you freeze when someone speaks Punjabi to you? Like, you probably know some Punjabi, but when people talk to you and you maybe, tell a little bit saying like, I'm good, मैं वधिया तुसी दसो, then you freeze, then you don't know what to say, right? And even some vocabulary, the sentence, and but the problem is in the right moment, like your brain freezes, and maybe after that you say, "Oh, I know this phrase, but my mind couldn't process that time." Maybe you're facing these kind of problems. So basically, these kind of problems for those people who are kind of intermediate level, maybe pre-intermediate level, like some kind of Punjabi. Most likely, you guys probably grown up in a Punjabi family in Western culture, so you know already some Punjabi. That's why you can still understand, but you have sometimes hard to understand Punjabi people, especially who grow up here in India, Punjab, and maybe they move to Canada or whatever, Australia or US, and you struggle to understand them, because they're speaking too fast, maybe they're using too many slangs, whatever, and that could be the reason. If you are really beginner, let's say you don't know much, you know very basic sentences, all right? Uh, then maybe you need to be more careful. So make sure you are learning right kind of Punjabi. You are learning Punjabi the way Punjabi people speak, all right? If you're learning formal Punjabi, you will struggle in the future. You might become intermediate level in formal Punjabi, all right? Maybe you're learning from a teacher and teacher teaches you, and you are doing good. You are learning, you're doing good. But when you will see in the real life, you would struggle, because if you are learning wrong, yeah, because you learn textbook style. Now people speaking differently. Now you think, oh, what the hell is going on, right? So it doesn't matter. You are beginner or you are intermediate level, it is not because you lack talent, it is because you are following the broken roadmap, maybe the wrong roadmap, so because you are not on the right path, that's why you are not fluent in Punjabi yet, all right? Maybe you think you still struggle, your Punjabi is not improving because of these reasons. Yeah, maybe you feel sometimes embarrassed in front of family to speak because you could have a lot of Punjabi relatives. And when you speak, maybe they laugh on you, laugh on your Punjabi, So you might be making very little mistakes. Maybe it could be masculine and feminine. But yeah, other people would laugh. If you can fix those, your Punjabi could be really good, Maybe they are laughing at you because you are using too formal. Um, yeah, it probably is not wrong, but it looks weird. That's why they're laughing. Because we also laugh, like say, if I am saying, let's say I wanna say a sentence, for example, let's say our relatives, all right, coming to visit us, all right. They phoned me, they called me, and I'm gonna tell my family, If I wanna say they are coming, all right. If I say O are hey hun, all right, or let's say they're my cousin, I wanna say uh mere cousin aa rahe hun, all right. I told to my friends or other family member relative, all right. They would laugh at me like, what? Why are you talking like that? What the hell? Why are you saying hun? All right. This is the laughable thing, all right. So if you are speaking too formal, definitely a native Punjabi speaker can laugh you go because this is how they do to each other if they do because they don't know you are learning Punjabi, they should motivate you, they should probably tell you the nice way how to correct it. Maybe no, they don't know, they just laugh at it. So same like if I would tell, they would laugh at me. That's why I would say, mere cousin on the I won't say, or maybe I say aa rahe ya. I use and I don't say hun. So if you're learning hun or hai, if you say oh aa rahe ya hai, if I say that, my family member, my friend would laugh at me. So I would just say oh aunda, all right, or I might say oh aa rahe ya. Even I say very rarely aa rahe ya. Even I say aa rahe ya, it still sounds good because I didn't say hai. I say aa rahe ya, all right. Mostly I would say oh aunda. So if you switch your speaking to kind of more natural Punjabi. Yeah, it's simple. There's nothing to improve. There's nothing to improve your vocabulary. You don't need to, learn more grammar rules. It's so simple. So simple. You need to know what to say. All right. Actually, it's easier because you have to speak less compared to the formal. That's why you need to follow the right roadmap. So if you are consuming a lot of wrong stuff, the formal stuff, right, or the textbook style stuff, um, but you are not listening and speaking, especially is for those people who are the beginner. Because when you are the beginner, all right, you learn, you start writing, you start, some, uh, like you write down some vocabulary, some grammar rules, everything, right? When you do that, probably you're focusing on too much on that, all right? Because your teachers, mostly the teachers, when you learn, they have no idea because most of the teacher designed to be teach any language just with reading and writing. They will teach you the rules, they will teach the vocabulary, but there's not enough practice of for speaking and listening. And this is the big issue. And even you see, if if when you were in the school, maybe you're currently in the school, if you have a second language, maybe you're learning Spanish in school, maybe you were learning French, whatever the language, um you're learning for years, all right. So when you learn for years, but like you think some sentences, some simple sentence you can write, but when it comes to like speaking to the people, you can't. You can't. So you're not alone. I was there when it comes to the English, all right. I started studying from 6th grade to the college, all right. For those years, I don't know how many, maybe 7 or 8 years, whatever. For those years, I become intermediate level only in writing and reading, all right? Not in speaking. I was still a beginner in speaking, all right? So you can see, you can compare yourself if you're learning second language in school because they teach us how to write, how to read that way. We we didn't have enough practice of speaking. And after that, when I start speaking, I hesitate, all right? I struggle when I had to say some sentences. And I think first in Punjabi. Oh, I think in Punjabi, then I translate in my head, then I say, and it was very slow delivery, all right? Because I was translating it. First, you need to stop translating it. If you already know, some Punjabi, you need to stop it. If you're a beginner, that's the different situation. Then make sure you learn a Punjabi from the beginning with the right roadmap. All right. Anyway, if you are already intermediate level, maybe you focus too much on whatever. Uh, like a formal Punjabi. And now, because you are doing mostly like a writing or filling the blanks, that's what most of the teacher teaches. But it helps you to learn the rules and stuff like that, but it won't make you fluent, because when you want to be a fluent, you have to speak, speak and listen. Listening is also very important, because if you don't have a good quality input, you don't produce. You need input, then you will produce. If you want to speak something, you need to know first. How would you know when you listen something? If you didn't listen, you don't want. So listening is very important. You have to listen. You have to spend more time in listening than speaking. When you have a lot of listening practice, you can also do, speaking practice. You need to do both. All right. And so currently, if you are taking classes from teacher and you think you're in it intermediate level, you can hold some kind of conversation, but you want to take it to next step. But if you're learning too much, like again, this reading and writing, it's not good for you. You just need a practice of speaking, and there will be some person who can correct you, who can find your mistakes, and who can correct you. All right, because you already can talk. Now you want to take it to the next level. You want to speak like maybe a native speaker. You want to improve your pronunciation. So in that situation, this rules, the reading and writing won't help you. All right. So you need to know where you are, what you need. That's what you need to know. All right. If you want to improve your Punjabi to the next level, if you're a beginner, make sure you learn the right Punjabi, not only the formal Punjabi, the spoken Punjabi, all right, the way people speak, all right. And if you're kind of intermediate level, you might be the intermediate level in formal Punjabi, but not in spoken Punjabi. Then you need to know the difference. All right. You need to know the difference. What the difference between a spoken Punjabi and the formal Punjabi or textbook style Punjabi? Because if you don't know the difference, you won't understand. We can understand you because you're speaking formal. We know the formal. We know the textbook style. We learn at school. We know that, but you won't understand most of the people because you didn't learn that. So you need to know those kind of difference. Now, if you are kind of like a um, advanced level, maybe advanced pre-intermediate level, whatever. Now you can hold a conversation, you can talk, but you make mistakes. You make mistakes sometime, maybe little bit mistakes ending, how we are ending the sentence. Sometime you maybe struggle with some different kind of sentences, like conditional sentences. Maybe you make masculine and feminine mistakes a little bit here, there. You have some maybe little bit problem with like a pronunciation. I notice a lot of students I have who from Western countries, because you are speaking so much English and you have some problem with the pronouncing the R sound. R sound in English is different than Punjabi. We have a kind of a rolling R. There are a few other words. We have a little bit different pronunciation. So those kind of pronunciation basically sound you little bit different. So if you learn correct pronunciation, your Punjabi would like you. You're talking like a native. So yeah, you should know where you are and what you need to improve. Everybody could be in different phase. Everybody could be different phase and they need to improve from there. All right. So if somebody feel already fluent but s- they still make a mistake and people maybe laugh on their pronunciation, whatever, and they want to improve it, they should know it. Then you are not gonna do basically this filling the blanks or learning the grammar rules and stuff like that. But if you're a beginner, then you need to know some vocabulary. Definitely, you should learn some vocabulary. You need to learn some grammar rules, but not only grammar rules from the textbook style. You need to learn the grammar rules of the spoken Punjabi. What is the difference? So you need to learn the right grammar as well, the spoken grammar, not only the textbook style. Because if you learn textbook style, what's the benefit of it? If you can speak. And if you're intermediate level, you know, and that time you need more speaking practice, because now you're intermediate level. Maybe you say some simple sentences, very simple. You can hold very simple conversation. Now you want to take the next level, you know. Then you also need to improve your fluency. You need to improve a lot in that area, because now you can already speak. You need to improve your fluency, your grammar, and you also need to talk more like a natural Punjabi, all right? Because you can't speak too much textbook style, because that looks so weird. Anyway, at the end, I would say you don't have motivation problem, and it's not of like you don't have a talent or something like that. You need to have a right strategy, all right? You have a strategy problem. Anyway, now let's talk about how you can solve this, how you can improve these kind of stuff, all right? How you can take your Punjabi to the next level, all right? Where you feel like you really improve your Punjabi. So, okay, basically, the fluency won't come for studying, it would come from practicing, all right? If you want to speak, you need to speak, all right? And you will get when you have a conversation with people, all right? So, that's why you need to learn a formal, not formal, like a colloquial or street talk Punjabi, because that's what you need to speak, all right? If I give you example of a sentence, so for example, you wanna say, like if somebody call you, what you doing? You're driving, So in the formal, if somebody say, like मैं गड्डी चला रहा हाँ, all right? It is a formal way to say मैं गड्डी चला रहा हाँ. Mostly people don't say that. They will say मैं गड्डी चलाई जाना. Now you won't understand this sentence, all right? So that's why you struggle, because you learn मैं गड्डी चला रहा हाँ, but people say मैं गड्डी चलाई जाना, or some people say मैं गड्डी चलाऊं दिया, all right? From Majha area. So how the hell you will understand, You need to fix this, So you need to learn the way Punjabi people speak, all right? So how would you do it? Maybe choose a right teacher who can teach you that, not the formal, or talk to, if you are already intermediate level, you can already talk, maybe watch my podcast. I make a lot of podcast episode about it, when I describe the difference between a formal and informal Punjabi, all right, the way people speak. So if you find the difference, and you can also notice. So when it's like a continued tense, all right. So most of people, how they say like a मैं काम करी जाना, मैं टीवी देखी जाना, मैं पढ़ी जाना. They won't say like मैं टीवी देख रहा हाँ, मैं पढ़ रहा हाँ, ओ शहर जा रहे हैं. They won't say like they're going to city. They won't say ओ शहर जा रहे हैं. We say like ओ शहर ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, or we say ओ शहर ਜਾਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ. From Madhya, they say like oh share yandeya. So you need to learn these kind of stuff, like learn from maybe from YouTube, maybe from teacher. You need to learn this, you need to figure out why yourself, how to do it. But you need to learn this, not the formal, If you know formal, that's okay. If you want to do the exam or something, okay, that's fine. You can learn formal. But if your goal is to talk to people, your family member or friends, then you need to learn these, all right? These means the way people speak. And what I'm telling you, you don't need to believe me. You need to compare it. If you're a beginner, maybe you can't understand much. But if you are intermediate level, you can compare the way I'm telling you. You can compare with the real example. When you're listening to somebody and somebody is talking, all right? In a show, all right, maybe a comedy clip, the way they are landing the sentence ending, you can compare with it. Are they using these kind of word, hai or han? In the form of Punjabi. So when you're learning, maybe from a teacher, maybe you are just doing self-study from the book. If they write like a ha at the end in a present tenses, ha for singular, hun for plural, in past, si for singular, sun for a plural, Okay, so when we speak in the present tense, we don't use ha and hun at all. We eliminate that, all right? And show me any example if somebody is talking. Everybody say ah at that, Some people say ah, some people say ne. If it's a plural, they might say ne. Some people probably say wa if they are from the Baba, me Kam kita wa. They say we say kam main kam kita. So it depends, all right, how they. So nobody's saying hai and han. And past always say si. Main kam te gya si or gay si. So we use a si. It doesn't matter. It's a plural or singular, masculine or feminine. All right. But informal for plural they use son, and nobody use son. All right, when they talk. So that's what I'm telling you. Don't need to believe me, just compare, all right? So even if you learn from different teacher, you need to compare. Is he teaching you right or not? Because it's the time you can't blindly on believe somebody or trust somebody, you know? Maybe it's not their fault. They are teaching you Punjabi the way they learn, the way basically they become a teacher to teach you because they become wanna teach the form of Punjabi. This is how they become teacher. This is how they become a teacher. When you become a teacher traditionally from school, so like our teacher who teach us a Punjabi, they teach us formal because we already know spoken Punjabi from the way we are growing up from the family. So when we go to the school, they teach us the textbook style, all right, because that's what we need to learn. For you guys, you are not learning for go to the school. You just want to talk. That's the different approach. That's the totally different, and it needs a different kind of teaching. All right. So anyway, if you want to be fluent, first you need to eliminate this thing, the fear of making mistakes. All right. A lot of people, you guys fear making mistake, and you need to eliminate. So through the process, you will make mistakes. All right. It is very natural. Everything you do, you make mistakes. When you become a sports person, you want to go to sports, you will make mistakes. Slowly, slowly, when you have more practice, you will improve. Same in the Punjabi or any language. When you're trying to learn, you want to speak more fluently. Maybe you want to improve your pronunciation. First, you will make mistake. You pronounce some words wrong, you do it. Then you correct them, then you do pronounce the correct pronunciation. And the first time you're not gonna do it. Maybe you learn the pronunciation. Okay, now you learn the word pronunciation. You can pronounce it correct. But when you would be using it in a sentence, you would be still using it wrong way. You need more practice to use those words in sentence. Slowly, slowly you improve. You are not gonna improve in one day. So same thing happens with me. When I was learning English, I have I have struggled a lot of words. I still struggle with some words, all right? Anyway, there would be some words I struggled, then I learned their pronunciation and I could pronounce very good when it's just a single word. When I was using them in sentences, I wasn't pronouncing correctly. Slowly, slowly I learn, all right? So making a mistake is totally fine. You shouldn't be fear, and you shouldn't be fear of what other people say. I know other people gonna laugh at you, but it's the journey. Don't care about them. Maybe choose right people who can help you, and you shouldn't be fear that. Whoever you wanna practice, you need more practice. Keep talking and keep listening, all right? Okay, the second thing, you're not listening enough. All right. Maybe you're trying to learn, but you're not listening enough. You need to listen more Punjabi. I think you need to listen that kind of content where you can understand a kind of like a 70%, maybe 80%. That kind of content is really good for you, because if you're learning something, you can understand 40%. You won't improve because you would get bored, because you struggle too much. If you learn something, maybe you're understanding like a 99%, and there's nothing to improve because you already know this. You need to give it a little bit challenging. So learn something you can think, oh, I can understand, maybe 70%, probably 60% or 80%. This is a very sweet spot. I think 70 to 80%, because now you are gonna follow the conversation, what they are saying, but you still have some words, phrases where you need to improve, and you will learn through this. Again, I'm telling you again, if you have like a good input, then you can produce. So that's why listening comes first before speaking. All right. If you're only listening, you are not speaking, it also won't work. You also need to produce. You have to learn first listen first, then you have to speak, maybe you don't need to speak that much. Like when I was learning English, basically the spoken English, I was listening it a lot every day. I was listening 2 3 hours, maybe even sometimes 4 hours. I was listening sometime, maybe a podcast, maybe a YouTube video. How much I was speaking? Very little. Maybe 5 minutes every day, maybe 10 minutes. I was speaking very little, all right? You would improve. You need more listening. Okay, the third thing you need to do, we already talked too much about it, so we're not gonna like a textbook Punjabi. You're learning textbook Punjabi. It's not good enough. Learn basically spoken Punjabi. If you're learning wrong way, so you won't prove. So make sure you learn and write Punjabi. Again, instead of learning words, learn in phrases. If you're a completely beginner, maybe learn few words, maybe let's say 40 or 50 words, maybe learn some some verbs, maybe learn like a 20 verbs, like that. And after that, try to use them, learn some like a pronouns in Punjabi, some verbs in Punjabi at the beginning, So after that, you can't keep going. You can do it like maybe for 2 days or 3 days. You learn some, memorize some, the verbs for 2 days. Now just use them. Keep starting using them in sentences, all right? If you keep learning by word, it's not good. So it's for beginners. If you are intermediate level, you already past basically this stage, then you need to improve. You need to work on more on your fluency. Anyway, and then if you do everything right, then you can become fluent, because you are not fluent because you are not doing these kind of things. Imagine calling to your grandparents or talking to them, face to face, and naturally in Punjabi is really good, or anybody, maybe your friends or family member, when you're speaking fluently and they're not laughing at you, because you choose a right path and you did enough practice for a longer period of time. Now you can do it, it would be so good. Imagine understanding Punjabi movies without subtitles, Punjabi shows, You are not far from it. If you're intermediate level, because the Punjabi they are talking is very simple. They're not complicated sentences, but they are speaking kind of a little bit faster. It's not exactly faster, but it sound to you fast, all right? Uh maybe they are using some idioms, but you will learn slowly, if you listen enough. So actually, I've been teaching multiple students, all right, through last couple of years. I noticed one thing, all right. After working with students, I noticed fluency come from in three things, all right. Keep in mind three things, all right. First, learn real Punjabi, learn spoken Punjabi, all right, because this is the what you need to speak, and this is how to speak, all right, because that's why you wanna basically communicate with them, all right. Second, listen daily, or you need to listen every day. You can't skip it. It's fine, maybe if you got busy, but you need to keep doing it every day. Maybe it's 10 minutes, maybe it's hour. It depends on your time. Make it a habit, all right? You need to make it a habit and immerse yourself in the language, all right? And speak every day, all right? Maybe sometimes it's hard, but you need to speak a little bit every day. It could be a 2 minutes, sometimes it could be a 10 minutes. Try to speak every day and think in Punjabi, try to think in Punjabi. You also need to practice think in Punjabi because most of you guys probably think in English first, then you're translating. You need to stop it, Maybe you can start from the small. Maybe you just watching a TV now. You just gonna get up. You're gonna make a tea. Whenever we do these kind of things, we think in our mind. So that time, think in Punjabi. If you wanna say, "Oh, I'm gonna make tea," say it in Punjabi in your head. "मैं चाह बनाना," like that. "मैं चाह बनाना जानना," like that. Try to say it in Punjabi, and then you will make a habit. So if you can speak, you can also speak that way to your own if you're alone, or maybe you can just think in your mind. You need to do these kind of things to improve your Punjabi. So you need to start from today, practice by yourself, watch every day. And if you struggle to be accountable, or maybe you don't have somebody who can correct you when you make a mistake, you can also take classes from me one-on-one. I also give one-on-one classes to the students. I help them to become a fluent, and make sure if your goal is to become a fluent, and that's why you need to contact me. If you are learning Punjabi for a study, for exam, then don't, because I don't teach that. I only interested to teach a Punjabi, the people who wanna speak, who wanna communicate, because that's what I've been teaching for last 5 years, and that's what I expert in that. So yeah, if you wanna take classes from me, so all the links is in the description. You can email me, you can contact me through Telegram or Instagram. All the links are in the description. If you like my work I do through my podcast, you enjoying it, you think you're learning it, and you want to support me, you can also support me through the Patreon. If you want to book a lessons, you can contact me. You can also book directly through the Patreon. Everything is in the description. Again, I teach Punjabi, a spoken Punjabi only, and I tell the difference between the textbook style of Punjabi and it was spoken Punjabi. If you are the one who learn only textbook style Punjabi, and but you don't know how to speak, I will tell you the difference. I will also tell you, okay, this is the textbook sentence, this is how we speak. So yeah, this is why I explain everything in this episode. This is why you're not fluent yet. If you fix this, if you learn Punjabi right way, you can fluent or all right in a Punjabi. Actually, you can do it by yourself as well. Probably it's gonna take a little bit longer time to you if you do it yourself, but you can. But you need to be more consistent. You need to stay consistent and do it. All right, and it's much better if you can identify your own mistakes. This is wonderful. Then probably you don't even need a teacher. All right. But if you have a hard time to identify your mistakes, yeah, definitely I can help you with that. Anyway, at the end, I hope you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new today. I'll be back with another lesson another day.